Welcome to my world history notes, where I read from the book that I wrote to teach homeschoolers world history from a Bible believer's perspective. A Bible believer looks for world history. You can find it on lulu.com, amazon.com, at the Bible Baptist bookstore. Just follow me here. Um, and it's just a survey, and it's not the final authority on anything, but the things I mentioned you should know about, and even more to be conversant in world history. And I'm sure you have your own opinion if you've studied certain things. I'm just hoping that you'll have an interest in it. So let's begin. I'm talking about the Weimar Republic after World War One. The Weimar Republic in Germany received little support from the Allied powers, but stayed in power until Adolf Hitler's rise to power in 1933. The frontline veterans of World War One became the right-wing paramilitary organization, Freikorps or Freikorps. Their purpose was to fight the threat of a communist takeover. The Earhart Brigade of the Freikorps wore the swastika, which had been worn by them while fighting the Russians in the Baltic. One of the main activities of both Germany and Japan was in trying to contain communist Russia, which was sandwiched between them, and who, once consolidating its power in its own territory, was intent on spreading its atheistic ideology around the world. The Third International, or the Communist International, was founded in Moscow in 1919, called the Comintern, for the purpose of spreading communism around the world by force, if necessary, and creating an international Soviet state. They were globalists, very similar to globalists today, but globalists today are smart enough not to announce what their plans are. Um, Germany was a divided nation with right wing and left wing communist groups fighting for dominance, and with the right wing rejecting compliance with the Versailles Treaty. The French occupation forces in the Rhineland included brutal African troops from the French colonies, and mass rape and abuse of German women was encouraged. The French were called sadists. France had lost nearly 2 million people in World War One, and were, as one historian said, quote, bled white. Their hatred of the Germans and desire for revenge was great. Excuse me. Later, the Nazis, excuse me, would project a particular hatred of the mixed race offspring, and even under the Weimar Republic, both the mixed race offspring of rape and of voluntary liaisons were forcibly sterilized. German men later reported being fearful of going to work and leaving their wives and daughters at home alone during this early period of French occupation. The French occupation of the industrial Ruhr Valley to force the payment of reparations united Germans against a common enemy. A plan of passive resistance was called for by the German government against the occupation by French and Belgian troops. The Germans used strikes, sabotage, and dissent to fight the occupation. As the Ruhr was occupied, Germany's economy collapsed. The German currency, the mark, was useless. One person wrote of paying 4 billion marks for a sausage roll. With runaway inflation and a worthless currency, Germany was forced to keep their pay in laundry baskets. There were so many notes. It was reported that a thief would steal the basket before he would the money, due to the basket having greater barter value than the money. Every single German citizen was affected, with an end to trade, bankrupt businesses, food shortages, and unemployment. The fact was that you could work until you dropped, but still could not feed and clothe your family. Runaway inflation killed the Weimar Republic because it killed not only money and property, but destroyed faith in the meaning of property and money. Social chaos resulted. Right wing groups like the Nazi Party flourished under such conditions. There were many paths to the Nazi Party, from outright political action to membership in nature groups who wanted to return to a simpler form of life. The hatred of the Jews, which the Nazis linked to Marxism, and the betrayal at the end of the war, they believed caused the end of the war, also brought anti Semites into the party. Then began, and it's not unusual because one of the most popular books and a favorite of Kaiser Wilhelm before this was from the 1800s. It was written by a Britishman, Houston Chamberlain. It was called The Foundations of the 19th Century, and it was terribly anti-Semitic and blamed the Jews for every problem Europe had in the 1800s. So this was already an undercurrent there. Then beginning in 1925, the economy picked up a bit, but then took a nosedive with the rest of the world's economy and the great stock market crash of 1929, which resulted in the Great Depression. That's what it's called. These years in between 1925 and 1929 were tough years for the Nazis because optimism came back into favor. There was an economic revival and a boon in the artistic and intellectual life of Germany. Berlin became the entertainment capital of Europe. When the crash of 1929 hit Germany, there became clear economic reasons for Germany to choose a type of the Antichrist, war hero and charismatic leader, to lead them into oblivion. So we're going to talk about Hitler next. Very important character in history, of course. It's a very, very tragic character for the world. All right. Thank you very much. Have a good day.